Malik Nabers was wide receiver one for the LSU Bengal Tigers, but Brian Thomas Jr., who is he? How high should he be drafted? Where does he land in the wide receiver rankings? We're going to talk about this and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout and a senior draft analyst, and I got to kick this introduction over, as always, to my brother, my partner in crime, Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at TheTalentCode. Keith, talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ with those LSU Bengal Tigers, man, here to bring you championship level content surrounding the NFL draft 24/7, 365, man. Listen, man, the other side to this dynamic duo that we call the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, where we talk everything college football. We talk everything NFL football. And like we like to say, man, it all starts with the NFL draft. And DP, this is a playmaker edition, baby. You know when we say playmakers, we are talking about wide receivers, man. We're going to talk about LSU's wide receiver, Brian Thomas. Now, Malik Nabers, Brian Thomas, the guy who led the FBS in receiving touchdowns. Then we're going to get into Ladd McConkey, DP, because there's starting to be some rumblings, but I think it's time for you to wake them up and let them know who's Ladd McConkey. And then we're going to finish this thing up with we bringing a blast from the past back, man, the coach them up segment. Which prospects have we been watching that we feel like just get your hands on and coach them up? But DP, before we get that started, man, why don't you hit them with our title sponsor?
This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Keith, Brian Thomas Jr., listed at 6'4", 205 pounds, wide receiver 2 for the LSU Tigers, and behind Malik Nabers. And like you said, he led the FBS in receiving touchdowns. For the season, 68 receptions, 1,177 yards receiving. He had 17 receiving touchdowns. When you watch the tape on him, right, you studied Malik Nabers, and of course, you had studied Jaden Daniels, and of course, you had to study BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr. Who is he as a prospect, Keith? What does he bring to the table? And then for you, how high should he be drafted?
Yeah, so watching Brian Thomas is one of those things where everything doesn't necessarily fit, right? And the reason I say that is because listed at 6'4", 205
pounds.
Yeah, 205 pounds, right? You expect a bully ball type of wide receiver, right? Somebody that's going to out physical people and things like that. And his game is almost that of a I guess you would say smaller wide receiver, right? In the sense of the fact that he's an explosive vertical threat, right? Like he's that. Like this guy is going to pull away from you. Any type of off coverage where he can double move you and get vertical, then he's going to take the top off consistently. And I would say this, that and maybe this is because he's 6'4", right? It appears that the speed is deceptive for him. That defensive backs, they think that they have more time, right? When he's eating up that cushion, they think they have more time before they hit the panic button. And guess what? By the time they hit the panic button to open those hips and try to run vertical with Brian Thomas, it's already over with, right? And you look at Jaden Daniels and what he was able to do throwing the deep ball. Reason why Brian Thomas was open, man. This guy is open. He's really good at tracking the football, right? I've seen him a couple over the shoulder tracking the football, right? So that's what let me know, DP, when you think about those skinny posts, right, or those play action boot types, and then the quarterback kind of reverses his viewpoint and perspective and throws opposite field, right? And he can get that deep ball to a guy like a Brian Thomas. So I look at Brian Thomas as an explosive vertical threat, DP. I think that's the plane that he lives on the best, and that's the why I kind of started, because a lot of people associate those guys with the Xavier Worthy, right? 6 foot, 165 pounds, right? But Brian Thomas is 6'4", 200, but he's that explosive vertical threat that's going to get upfield. I guess we talk about the other side of this real quick, right? Now, what are some of the areas you want to see him improve on? The rest of the route tree, right? He has the go ball down pack. He has the post, the skinny post, right? He has those things down pack. I want to see you run those in breakers, right? I need to see you run that 10-yard in, right? I need to see you run that quick slant consistently, right? Just things like that dig route, and be able to win in that facet. But for right now, I think he's a plug and play vertical threat for any offense in the NFL. And if you put him in motion and do different things like that, he's going to be able to get open.
No, I like that, Keith, and I agree with you because, and that's the thing for me, it was like, man, he's so explosive vertically. I was like, all right, how can he use that to his advantage to open up routes, right? Well, typically when the guy is 6'4", 200 plus pounds, and he's that explosive and fast vertically, guys will DBs are typically what? Bail out, they'll drop off, they'll protect the deep ball, right? Deep thirds, quarters coverage, things like that. And it's like, all right, this is where for you, as the player, so then as the coach, you're like, all right, let's get you pushing vertical, right? So we can get those guys backed up off you. Now you run that dig, right? Because it goes 1 and 2 in the same. As you press vertical, what's the phrase? Make everything look like a fade until it's not. And if you continue to do that, guys are going to panic to get out of there. They're going to try to stay on top of your route, stay on top of the shoulder. So now as they're side saddling, bail teching out of there, boom, that opens up because their backs to the sideline, right? Their hips are to the open in the middle of the field. That allows you to break inside without having to run the most crisp routes. Now, I think what I really love about him, Keith, as well, not just the speed, it's the verticality of his game. To be able to go from, running full speed to now I can elevate. I wonder where he's going to jump at the combine, which we'll get into, those odds and all that stuff, within like the next month and a half, because we got the Senior Bowl and all that stuff first, but he leaps, man. He goes above the rim, plays helmet or higher. And some of those contested catches that he was able to make, the body control, he doesn't panic with the balls in the air either. Very calm and poised and under control, gets his feet down, uses his whole body and the arm length, the frame. I love that about his game as well, Keith. Like you said, the route running, and I think separating from man when you can't just run past the guy, that's going to be the next thing. Get into the blind spot. The throwaway technique, right? Like do different things to add more nuance to your game.
Yeah, and now you know what I think, and I just thought about this as we were talking just now. I think he's this year's version of Jalen Hyatt in a sense. And like I said, you have to almost remove the body types. I know they're two totally different body types, but what I'm saying is that explosive vertical threat that nobody was talking about preseason, that jumped onto the scene, that dominated vertically, right? That you wanted to see run more of the route tree, right? But we knew that you can be a plug and play explosive threat for offense. And also the part of, you asked about the grades, right? They're going to be varying grades on Brian Thomas, right? There simply is. And when you watch the film, there's variance in performances, right? You watch the Alabama game, I think he had a couple catches for under 50 yards, right? Then you watch Florida State, you watch I think it was Missouri game
this past weekend.
Yeah, the Florida game, right? The Ole Miss, Arkansas, right? He's gonna go 150 on you, right? So it's variance in performance levels. Oh, well, his output, right? And I think that's why I thought about the Jalen Hyatt situation. Like he could be there. So you asked me where a team, if ceiling wise, right, falling in love, but this is also a deep wide receiver class. I think back into the first round is ceiling. I think floor for Brian Thomas is probably back into the second, early third, somewhere in there as far as a draft grade.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly, Keith. And I think two teams, just depends on, how things go, right? Two teams, well, three, I'll throw out three. And they're all, I would say, yeah, they're all contenders in the sense they're all in the playoff push right now. One of them has locked up the number 1 seed, the Baltimore Ravens, right? And could he be a faster, more explosive version of Rashad Bateman, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And and more consistent with his hands, and of course staying healthy, which is something that he's been able to do. But also the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's the one thing that they consistently lack is that big body, taller receiver that Trevor Lawrence has been accustomed to since his days back at Clemson. And that if Stephon Diggs stays as the number one wide receiver and he doesn't go nowhere in the offseason, there's no rumbling of issues, the Buffalo Bills, they need a legitimate wide receiver too. And you think about pairing him with Khalil Shakir, Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, James Cook. If Joe Brady is still called, he gets a whole nother season to call plays. I think that putting him in that offense will be gold, Keith.
Yeah, no, I like those three teams, and I think there's even more teams, right? Because we know that the explosive vertical threat, right? Like it's almost all 32 teams can use them, and that's why his draft positioning, right, predicting where he's going to go is going to be so volatile, right? Like you never know that the Kansas City Chiefs might pick up and say, you know what, we could use a downfield threat. You have no idea where
they haven't been able to throw the deep ball really since Tyreek Hill left, so that's another team to throw in the mix.
He's going to be a 40 time guy, DP. Whatever he runs in a 40, I think is going to heavily dictate where he gets drafted. But DP, let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. And we stand in the SEC, so this is a kind of SEC show, so you know how I feel. I'm pretty excited about this. We are going to Ladd McConkey, man. We're going to talk about the wide receiver from Georgia coming up next.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Every year, guys, every single year, it's the whole new year, new me thing. We get obsessed with how we change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we're already doing right. All right, change your mindset. Think from a positive angle. Like, listen, I did this well all 2023. I want to continue to do that, right? But a lot of times we allow our minds to think about the negative things. What didn't I do right? What did I fail at? What was I struggling with last year? And why I don't want to struggle with that in 2024. Listen. Therapy can help you, right? Maybe you finally organize that one part of your space in your office or in your home, and you want to tackle another. That's fine. But having someone that's going to be objective and non-biased, just listen to your thoughts, help you stay on the right track of being positive, all right? If you think about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try, all right? Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Georgia wide receiver Ladd McConkey, listed at 6 foot, 185 pounds. Keith, guys, this is not your typical white slot receiver. I want to get that out the way right now. Like, don't look at his skin complexion. Don't look at his size and say, yep, he's going to play in the slot for me. He can. Don't get me wrong. He can. But this is a guy that can play on the outside. And during this, his numbers this season weren't great because he missed some games. He dealt with, I think, was either an ankle or a knee injury. But he got 30 receptions, 483 yards, and 3 total because he had a rushing touchdown and 2 receiving touchdowns. And just Georgia's offense, Brock Bowers was hurt, and Ladd McConkey. But man, turning on the tape, Keith, guys, I came away like I already liked him from the summer. I liked him, just from even last year. But when you watch this guy, the first thing pops off the screen: route running, tempo, pacing, intelligence against soft press coverage, against soft coverage, soft shoe, where you're going to give him 2 yards of cushion. He tempos his routes and his releases so well to where he's always gaining ground, and he gets into the airspace and then he releases and gets into his stem, gets into his route. I love the way he does stem off coverage. You think about playing kind of half zone turn, you're giving 4 or 5 yards, maybe 6 yards of cushion, and he knows I'm running the 7 stop. I'm running a 10-yard dig. He stems that route right at the hip, the point of the hip of the defensive back, and breaks in, man. He knows how to find the blind spots. I love his work against zone as well, though, Keith, because this is a guy that understands how you think about the Julian Edelmans, the Deion Branches, the Troy Browns, that, when they were with the Patriots and everything, those option routes with Tom Brady, like, you got to read the coverage the same way he does in terms of, all right, are you going to sit this thing down for a quick hitch, or are you going to shake route and get into the middle of the field and we give you a catch and run opportunity? Everything is moving at a high speed pace, especially as we know in the SEC, Keith, with these defensive players being so athletic. He does a good job of that as well. That Florida game, if there was any game on his resume this year where you say that's the I'm him game. That's, I've written that down for guys now. I'm looking for that game where I can say, okay, you were him. Like that was your game. It was the Florida game. In that game, Ladd McConkey caught 6 of 7 targets, 135 yards. He averaged 22.5 yards per catch, and he had a touchdown. And you just see the speed in open field as well. Is he the most explosive instant starter? No. But I will say that he has good open speed. He can stack guys. His movement skills, he's a punt returner. So you see that ability after the catch to kind of bob and weave, in and out of traffic. He doesn't mind going across the middle. Tough physical player. Like I said, I think the main thing for him, Keith, is when guys do get to the line of scrimmage and get hands-on, consistently be able to fight through and win quickly, right? Because he's not the most imposing physical frame. I don't like he's not Tank Dell quick and sudden, but at the top of his routes, he's sudden. You know what I mean? So it's like at the line of scrimmage, being able to deal with those kind of longer arm, especially the 101s for him going to be huge at the Senior Bowl. Because getting in one-on-one against some of these taller 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", long arm corners that are able to run with you vertically, right? Can you be able to separate and win quickly and efficiently? I think those are going to be the questions at the line of scrimmage. Contested catches is not going to be a big thing for him because he's not going to it's going to be timing if he does it, right? It's not going to be arm length, leaping ability, height, weight that's going to be in his wheelhouse. But this is a really good player. I ended up giving him like a second round grade, Keith. I think this is a young man that can play on the outside, play in the slot, and do a lot of different things for a team.
Yeah, I think this DP that I think he is a good accelerator, right? Like in and out of breaks, and I think he understands how to create separation. And like you talked about the tempo, I agree with you with the range of the second round grade, right? And this the wide receiver class. Just there's so many wide receivers, man. And I think about this, man. That to me he's your prototype Z wide receiver, right? Like you have your X. That'll be your Keon Coleman's and things of that nature, right? But I even think about a team you just mentioned with the Buffalo Bills, right? With Ladd, they did a Ladd McConkey type wide receiver, guy that is almost the B-level version of what Stephon Diggs is able to do, right? Where Stephon Diggs can do everything, right? And then they throw in another wide receiver that can do everything, not quite at the level that Stephon Diggs can do, but he's that versatile piece, right? To where you're not hurting your offense by putting him anywhere on the field, right? And when you put him on anywhere on the field, you're able to do some different things with Stephon Diggs. So I like this skill set from a wide receiver. I'm with these guys that can do it all, right? It's like give me 3 of them, right? Give me 3 of them, and I could just like they're like the small forward in basketball, right? It's like what, I could put you at the 1, the 2, the 3, or the 4, right? I could put you anywhere, and that's the same exact thing with Ladd McConkey. So I'm right there with you, DP. I think Ladd McConkey is a highly talented player. Have you had any comps for him at this moment, or expectations what you expect to see?
I think comp wise, I was kind of like hovering around because I try to stay away from the wide receiver comps. It's lazy. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go the Cooper Kupp route, and stuff like that. But I think, think about like Robert Woods comes to mind, especially in his prime.
That's who kind of came to mind for me also, was not Cooper Kupp, but actually the teammate Robert Woods. And that was kind of, I think Robert Woods was what a top of the second round.
I think so, if I remember correctly.
Out of USC at the very top of the second round. But I see a lot of those same things, right? Like what is the acceleration, the natural understanding of how to play the wide receiver position, man, can get open, right? And then in the open field, you see the acceleration to be able to pull away from defenders to turn a 20-yard catch into a 40-yard catch, into a 50-yard catch, things like that. So I'm right there with you. And then this is the other part that's kind of underrated. And we talked about Brian Thomas, right? With these offenses that throw the football close to the line of scrimmage. So you're talking about bubble screens, you're talking about orbit routes, right? And being able to throw the ball to them, quick screens, right? He has that short area quickness and agility to be one of those guys that can turn that pass that's behind the line of scrimmage into a 10, 20-yard game.
And the vision as a ball carrier is really good. That comes from that punt return background. It's like he had like 16 punt returns either this year or just in his career for Georgia. The vision after getting the football, like in open field, is he going to be like I said, Tank Dell, Tyler Lockett, quick-footed, super elusive, make you miss in the booth. No, he's not that guy.
No,
But
he
it's
gonna
the
be so
vision.
smooth when he do it though. DP is gonna be
Yes.
smooth.
It's read and cut, Keith. It's okay. You got outside leverage. I'm a jab step and work back across your face, and it's just weaving in and out of traffic, running defenders into incoming blockers and different things. Like he will turn a quick screen and he'll run it like it's a punt return, where he's looking for his blockers in space and trying to, like a cone drill, right? Like just trying to run you into the cone and then get into the alley that is going to be open space for him. Like you said, he can do everything, and that's what Keith. I think that's why I really rock with his game, because of the fact that, can he be a possession receiver and a volume guy in the short and intermediate game? Yes. Can he win vertically? Yes. Like, you know what I'm saying? He can be a 3-level threat, a 3-level receiver. And it's hard pressed to find a lot of guys that can do it well, efficiently, and as smooth as he can.
Yeah, I agree 100% with DP, man. That wraps up the wide receiver conversation. We're talking about Brian Thomas. We're talking about Ladd McConkey, 2 SEC wide receivers, DP, that are going to push for that second round, right? Entrench themselves right there. And this is just the beginning, right? That's what the film says, right? But then we still have all of these different data points to continue to put this story together. So guess what, man? We're going to continue to talk about these wide receivers as this wide receiver class unfolds and we figure everything out. But DP, let's wrap this thing up with Coach 'em Up, right? We're going to the Coach 'em Up segment, man. We're going to pick the player. We're going to tell you why the coaching staff needs to just simply coach him up, man. He has the skill set. He has the tools. He has the traits. So coming up next, man, is the Coach 'em Up segment.
At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Guys, LinkedIn is not just another job board, okay? LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors, all right? So, guys, it's very simple. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. It's time to coach them up, guys. Keith, when as a scout, we all know you take some toolsy players, a guy that just need a little bit of coaching up, a little bit of work, and you tell the coach, hey, here's a good player. Now you just got to get him where he can hit a ceiling. For you, who's your coach him up guy of this episode another week?
DP, my coach 'em up guy for this week has probably been of the biggest rising NFL draft prospects in the entire draft situation, right? And that's Alabama cornerback Terrion Arnold. Listen, listed at 6 feet, 185, 190 pounds, man. This is, I believe, just his second year playing cornerback. But what you see is this: he's an explosive athlete, right? He has the lateral agility, he has the quickness, he has the short area quickness. I thought he had a strong punch, right? In press man. And this is the thing. But the reason why I'm saying coach him up is because this, and I put this in my report. The growth of Terrion Arnold from last year to this year leads me to believe, if I'm an NFL GM, right, if I draft this guy, my DB coach should be able to coach this guy up in his traits, right, to be able to reach another level at the cornerback position. So my coach him up guy, DP, is Terrion Arnold. I just think the guy has every physical tool set that you need to be a high-level corner. And I think he's the wild card that not a lot of people are discussing, right, as far as the guy opposite of Kool-Aid McKinstry that could potentially be a top 20, top 25 pick that turns out to be potentially one of the better cornerbacks in this entire draft class. So I'm going with Terrion Arnold. I'm putting everybody on notice right now. I think he's going to test out the roof. I think he's a vertical guy. I think he's physical. If you like run stopping cornerbacks, check this guy.
No, I do, Keith.
The LSU game, he made plays. The Texas game, he made plays. He likes being physical, and the reason, part of that is because he was a safety in high school. So this is a guy that had to walk down from the safety position to play cornerback, and this is only his second year playing cornerback. So I'm rocking with Terrion Arnold as my coach him up guy.
I like that, Keith. And listed at 6 foot, like 196 coach. So he's got a nice solid frame to him. But
Yep.
even that Georgia game, right? I think they threw a toss sweep his way out
Yeah.
of like a bunch set. He just shot through there and made the play. I think it was like on fourth. It was like 4th and 2, 4th and 3. And it was kind of a momentum swing for that Alabama team in the SEC championship game. So that's why when you said if you like cornerbacks who tackle, Keith, I do. I rock with my cornerbacks that tackle on the perimeter. And I really like Terrion Arnold. He's developed. He's grown throughout the season, man. And then, I mean, he's also, we talk about being a coach him up segment. He's a guy that takes coaching, right? You listen to him when they ask him, how did you handle being yelled at, with Nick Saban yelling in your face and stuff? And he gave one of the most veteran answers I've ever heard by a college player. He just handled it. He's like, no, I took it in stride and I got better. You know what I mean? It's him making sure I understand what I need to do and I need to do, what is asked of me. And it's like, man, this is a kid that NFL coaches are going to love in interviews. And I think that's a big thing. Coach him up, guys, like first, second round, whatever. You need a cornerback. This is one of the guys you need to keep an eye on. Keith, my guy is kind of a polarizing name in a very kind of clumped up top of the edge rush class. Penn State edge rusher Chop Robinson, listed at 6'3", 250 pounds. And Keith, for me, the reason why I say coach him up, this is a young man that is like the ceiling is through the roof. I think you've said it multiple times back in the summer. I think you said it a couple more times during the season. He is what Micah Parsons would have looked like if he played predominantly edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if Micah Parsons stayed at edge. The first step explosiveness, that first step, that quick twitch, his explosiveness is outrageous. He might have, I'm not gonna lie, he might have the best first step out of all these edge rushers in this class.
And so I'll say this, DP. I have Chop Robinson in my region. I have Dallas Turner in my region. I have Jared Verse in my region. And you making that statement was exactly my thought after I finished watching those three guys. And I've watched Laitu Latu, right? I think so. If you're talking about if you're just doing like some type of timer or something like that, and like in game, like snap to him being on the tackle shoulder, right? I think he has the most explosive first step. And I think it's the most dangerous first step. Like I think his first step explosive is dangerous to what he can do is disruptive.
No, and I always reference it, Keith. You go back to that Michigan game. Early in that game, he was whooping the tackles, the snap anticipation. But some guys just jump the snap because they just time it. It was a combination of, he timed it right, but he's just that explosive where even if he wasn't like precisely on time, he was just beating guys out the blocks, right? He's one of those guys, you think about a 100-meter dash at the, on track, you get in the starting blocks, man, like this one of those guys, like that first 50 meters is crucial. If you don't stay toe-to-toe that first 50 meters, it's a wrap for you. And that's what it is with Chop Robinson. Why he's my coach him up, guys, because he has all those physical tools. He bends around the edge. I think his arm length, I don't know how, I don't have the verified measurements, but on tape, it appears to be good NFL arm length. But it's just the hand usage, right? Just developing and coaching the hand placement, the counters, being as much as nuanced as possible. Because you think of what I got Laitu Latu in my region. He has the best pass rush plan and package out of all these guys, right? Veteran game. He's very crafty. Keith, if you think about, this is what we this will be a conversation for another day, but floor and ceiling, right? When you think about a high ceiling player that's like, I want this kid so that I can help develop him, that's Chop Robinson. The floor for Laitu Latu is going to be a legitimate floor, right? But if Chop Robinson develops anywhere close to the nuance and crafty pass rush plan and package and usage as a Laitu Latu, this is a 15 sack per season type of guy because the physical tools are out of this world for him. Because what scares offensive tackles the most? Speed. That first step, the ability to drive the corner and then corner it, right? Get flattened and get around the edge and then close on the quarterback. He has all of that. Now it's just let's develop the pass rush moves so that now when guys want to overset and they drift too far in their vertical, now you got the double hand swipe inside. You know what I mean? You got the kind of cross chop. Kind of goes with the name, right? Because his name's Chart Robinson. So I think, man, this is a young man that we have not seen. It's just the tip of the iceberg. We have not seen him at his best. And that's what's scary for offensive tackles is when this young man does develop, he can be one of the best in the game.
No, I agree with you 100%. And that's why just with his draft grade, right? It's like, man, do I grade him off of what he is now, or do I grade him off of what he could
Go
be?
big or
Right?
go home, Keith.
But it's a lot there, man. He might be the most high variance edge rusher in this class, right? To where, like you said, the ceiling could be 15 sacks, or if it doesn't develop, it could be 5-6. You know what I'm saying? But that's why we draft them and we tell the coaches, coach them up, man. Just go ahead, coach them up. Get it together, man. We spent the draft capital on them. But DP, man, listen, talking about getting it together. We are getting it together over here at the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, man. That wraps up another show of that hot fire. I told you at the beginning of the show, man, hit that like button. Go ahead and comment and go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel, man. I want to say shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. We see the love, we see the listens, we see the views, we see the downloads, we see the comments, we see it all, and we greatly appreciate it over here, man. It is draft season, man. So tell a friend to tell a friend. This is where you come to for the best NFL draft content there is out there. We do the work, we watch the film, man, so we can talk to our people about it, our everydayers. Man, listen, I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code, man. That is Damian Parsons to my left, man. To my left, my co-host, man. You can find him on X at DP_NFL, man. And like we always say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Guys, Apple Podcast, Spotify on the audio side. Listen, go subscribe, hit automatic downloads, leave us a 5-star review, talk to us, and like Keith said, we always talk back to y'all. We appreciate all the love and support. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day, and shout out for being our everydayers, man. On tomorrow's episode, listen, it's Friday, and it's the last day of the week, getting ready for what? The national championship game on Monday night. So we're going to preview Washington versus Michigan, pick the game, talk about X factors, all that good stuff on tomorrow. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.